Hey everybody, Wolfie here, and as you can see behind me, the solar array is done. And deer flies are being pains in the butt. So I'll spin the camera around here and give you a tour of how the system's all set up now. It's actually pretty cool. It's been a lot of work, especially the last few days. Well, Elizabeth Swamp Electrical Inspector is here. Has to check out the new system for me. Make sure it's all good. What do you think, bud? Yeah, I don't think he's got a problem. Well, other than with me standing here. Oh, I'm gonna zoom this back out here. Looks great. I am really happy today. Okay, so as you can see, the work me and Paul and Harley did getting everything in place has paid off. The old frame is in pretty bad shape, but it did its job. So what we got, as many know, but just in case this is the first video you've seen, we've got our extremely solid framework holding up a 240 watt panel up the center and four 40 watt panels on the sides. What I've done is I'm running a dual system here. So the big 240 watt panel has its very own marked system, and then the four 40 watt panels are being run in parallel, and parallel. It keeps the voltage the same anyway. They're kicking out 20 volts, over 20 volts, 20 to 20, between 20 and 22 volts while the sun's on them. They all run down through, and conveniently these 2x6s that I used in the build have these great holes through them, right down here and here. Everything, when you put it together, everything lines up great for this. So the red wires here, this is my 240 watt panel. Smaller black wires, which there's a nice coil there on the back, is the 40 watt panels. They all run into the combiner box here, and even though these are both red wires, they are marked at the ends. If you can see up here, I used the white electrical tape at every junction in the series. It's a nice heavy 10 gauge wire, and it was a lot cheaper for me to get the 2 rolls of red, so that's what we went with. And I also would have had to wait an extra 3 to 4 weeks for the roll of black. Now inside the combiner box, this is the 220 side, this is the 160 watt side, the small panels. And through my system, that's how I have been referring to my smaller 40 watt panels as the 160 watt. Now they come through in an underground conduit. Well, two underground conduits. They each have their own. Come across to the cabin, just past the rain barrel. They come up the wall and in. Now I'll pause the video here for a moment and we'll go in and I'll show you the whole new setup inside. Okay, so looks a little bit hectic, but it's actually, I've got it fairly well organized. Nothing is really fastened solid as far as the wires go, like to the back wall, because I'm not 100% finished here. I need to put in breakers and other safety precautions through the wiring. But it's put together enough that it can be used. Now, as you can see, I have my 240 and my 160. I should add a little W on each of them so people understand that that's watts. Now, each one goes into its own charge controller. And yes, they're just the cheapy charge controllers. At some point in the future, we are hoping to be able to upgrade them to a lot better quality products. From the charge controllers, they run into the bus bars. We have black wires, or negatives, going to one bus bar. All our reds, which are the positives, and hot wires, to the other bus bar. Now they come down to the batteries. We've got a 180 amp hour 12 volt battery bank, and then from the battery bank up to our 2000 watt inverter. Now this is a good inverter. It's a really nice one. My dad got it. From the inverter, it goes to this plug. The plug is set up like my old system. I just haven't labeled it yet. This bottom, the two plugs are separated from each other inside. The bottom plug is strictly solar. It has the cable that comes down and plugs in the inverter. This black cable up here comes into the top plug. That runs out and down through another conduit, and it's for hooking up to the generator. So all you have to do to switch from one to the other is pull the plug. We're now connected to the generator. And back to the solar. Now, the coil of wire right below the plug, that is my remote switch. It comes across, and we have the remote switch here. It's hard to see right now because it's black and, well, in the dark. If we turn on the solar, you can see the little green light light up. That actually shows up better on camera than it does in real life. You just push the button, shuts down. Now, the cable that plugs into the plug-in is in the BX cable coming across, and this is, you might be able to read it, our main power in. Yeah, I was being kind of dumb with that, but this is where our cable's coming across. Now from here we have this plug-in next to it. This is a dedicated plug-in for the TV and antenna box. From there, from the box, it also runs across into what was originally our main power in box, and it spreads out the power to the lights and stuff. We've got our main light over the table. We've got a light over here for the stoves, one for the kitchen, and we have a plug-in here at the table. Now, to top that off, this is where the power wire used to come in. As some know, this is where all the control boxes and everything were. This extension cord was the one from the generator. The black, heavy black cable over here that's very hard to see. There we go. It sort of shows up with the box on the end. That was the solar coming in with very underrated wire, but that was what I had, so, and it worked for temporary. So this stuff is technically irrelevant nowadays, like now, as of today. But the cord for going to the cabin is a box right up here next to the scale. Once again, it's kind of hard to see over here, but I'll see if I can. Yeah, I got a flashlight here on the table. There we go. There we go. This box here. And what we're going to do is I got to open it up and we're going to turn this into a plug-in. I'm probably going to mount it up here on the 2x4. And it will have a through wire that goes across over the door and over to the porch light switch, which at the moment is completely disconnected, so I haven't got to that part yet. So that'll be the main system, but this plug-in will also be a dedicated one, similar to the idea of the one for the TV. It will be for our little fridge. We need to upgrade our battery bank. Before we can do that, we're going to need a lot more power storage to be able to run. It's a good energy efficient little fridge, and it maxes out at, I think it's a 60-watt peak when it does happen to fire up. But that can take an awful toll on a small battery bank, so we definitely got to upgrade the battery bank before we can put the fridge into use. But yeah, this is our system. It's a good system. All our years of testing and expanding have paid off, and we now have a really nice system all set up. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself for doing this, because when I started all my research a couple years ago, I knew next to nothing about electricity and doing this kind of work. And I'm pretty sure I've drove my father completely insane several times with all the questions and asking them multiple times. But me and Jeanette have spent over 2 years doing all our research and watching for watching prices and stuff like that. Lots of window shopping. And I like this because I can see my whole new solar array right at my window. Okay, so that's the whole system as it sits so far. Like I said, I do still have a lot of the safety aspects for the wiring to get put in, like the breakers, things like that. An example is on each set of wires coming from the solar panels, I'll have a 10 amp breaker between the little boxes on the wall and the charge controllers. There will be a 10 amp fuse on each set of wires there, or sorry, a 10 amp breaker. Jeanette and I have already found some really nice little inline ones. And let's see, I'm honestly not sure 100% on sizing and stuff for the other fuses or breakers or whatever. We need to put in a main power switch, like kill switch, for the whole system. I've been pricing them out, and I've seen a few very affordable ones that I can use. So still lots to do, but that's the full build of our solar now, and it's obviously completely off grid. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and it was all done. I'd tend to say it was, I built the whole thing. I didn't. My dad started the whole system years ago, like almost 30 years ago, and we've just built from there and added and added and added. And then a few years back, I took over and completely on upgrades and went a little nuts on it. So now we've got a much bigger system, and I know my dad's gonna absolutely love it. So it's been a lot of work, a lot of headaches figuring stuff out. I've had a lot of help from my neighbors, my in-town neighbors, John Paul and his son Jeremy, my daughter Harley and her boyfriend Paul have been a really big help, as you may have seen in the last few videos of me working on it. And obviously, for my dad has been a massive part of the build with his knowledge as an electrician, and of course Jeanette letting me actually do this stuff, because it hasn't been exactly cheap. We try to get good deals and great prices, but sometimes they just ain't there for stuff. But anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed the little tour of the build, and I'll take any suggestions, like in the comments on the video, of suggestions on types of breakers or fuses or stuff like that. Other possible additions that I could put in there, especially for safety factors. But like I said, I do still have a lot of that to work on and get going. But the system's at least usable right now. We just got to keep a little bit of an eye on it, just to be sure everything stays up to par, preferably a little above. Okay, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Everyone have a great day, and I'll talk to you all soon.